Going on, world? DS1 Ross, and we back here on Sheep Stay Sleep TV. Shout out to everybody who support the platform. Much love, much love. Salute to everybody that's in the building right now. Shout out to all you visionaries. Shout out to all you visionaries, man. I appreciate all the love and the support. And of course, we're back here on Sheep Stay Sleep TV with another episode. I'm your host, DS1 Ross, of course, and I appreciate all the love and the support. So if you are here, make sure you hit the like button, family. If you are here, make sure you hit the like button. Hit the like button for me, fam. Let's get the likes up. Let's get the likes up. Likes are free. Hit the like button. Hit the like button. Shout out to everybody in the chat. I'm going to get over to the chat room and get some shout outs, but I need you guys to hit the like button and share today's show. Hit the like button and share today's show, because as y'all know, this type of content is not YouTube friendly. So I need y'all to hit the like button. I need y'all to share today's show, because this is the type of content that they're actually trying to get off of YouTube, because the advertisers don't want to put their ads under this type of content. So if you guys want this type of content, this content that is helping uplift men, especially us brothers, you're gonna have to support by simply hitting the like button and hitting the share button. Share it on your community tabs, share it on your Discord servers, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, anywhere that you share content. Share this show. Share this show. Shout out to everybody in the building. Shout out to my man Bob. I appreciate you, my brother, as always. Much love and respect to you, bro. I appreciate the super sticker. Shout out to you, love. Shout out to Miss Letitia. I appreciate you for the super sticker. Much love, Miss Letitia, as always. I appreciate your support. Shout out to Letitia once again. She always coming through and holding down the Chizat. Shout out to Mark McJoy in the building. Shout out to Just Jay. What's going on, Just Jay? What's going on, Cyber Boo? Bob says, the abandonment issues I had growing up still affects me to this day. I must accept that people are going to have their opinions about me one way or another, even family. Facts, my brother. Facts. And I'm glad you're being so open and candid with that, because that is, and as y'all heard yesterday on yesterday's show, family issues is one of the issues that leads to suicide, especially for Black men. Especially for Black men. Self University, salute, family. Salute. What you laughing at, Just Jay? What you laughing at? But shout out to everybody in the building. Salute, salute, salute. Like I said, make sure y'all hit the like button. Make sure y'all share today's show. If y'all haven't yet, make sure y'all check out part one. Make sure you check out part one yesterday. Just a quick recap before I get into today's show. Yesterday, we read an article. The article is in the description box of part one. So make sure y'all go and check out part one. Y'all also can check out the articles. Y'all also could check out the articles. So get down in the description box. And what y'all could do is click the link and follow me over there. Follow me. If y'all want to read the articles yourself, if y'all want to follow me while I'm reading the articles, going through the articles, y'all can follow me there. So shout out to everybody. Once again, salute to everybody in the building. And we are going to get to the second article, but y'all see today's show. This is part two of the Black man's pain storage. The Black Man's Pain Storage. Hey, Bronze Dip, good to see you, love. The Black Man's Pain Storage, Part 2. Black male suicide in 2022. Now, as we spoke on yesterday's show, we read an article that was written by the AACAP. What is the AACAP? Y'all may ask. That is the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry. And in this article, they explained how Black youth has been killing themselves at an alarming rate. And when we say Black youth, we're speaking on from the ages of 10 to 19. So we're not talking about the 21-year-olds, the 22-year-olds. You know, we're not talking about those children. We're talking about children from the ages of 10 to 19. These are Black children. And suicide is the second leading cause of death when it comes to Black youth today, from the ages of 10 to 19. This is what we learned yesterday. We also learned why these things are occurring. We're also learning that. So, on today's show, because I couldn't finish up yesterday, we're going to get into the second article. Shout out to y'all. Shout out to everybody. This article is written by scientificamerican.com. Scientificamerican.com. The name of the article is called Inequality. Suicides amongst Black people may be vastly undercounted. Let me read that again. Suicides amongst Black people may be vastly undercounted. So maybe this is why a lot of the suicides that is happening amongst our youth, we don't know too much about it, because it's being undercounted. They're not counting all of the Black suicides. They're not putting it out there like that. They're actually hiding this problem. You know, because as I said on yesterday's show, suicide is something that was never really prevalent amongst Black people. So what the media has done a great job at doing is hiding the fact that there's a lot of Black people who are killing themselves, preferably Black youth. They're taking themselves out. And we need to speak on this, because when we're talking about problems, when we're talking about trauma, what do you think causes suicide for the most part? Trauma. We spoke about this yesterday in the article. All the different types of trauma that Black youth are faced with on a daily basis. Discrimination, structural racism, gender bias. And these are some of the contributing factors to these young people taking themselves out. These are some of the contributing factors to why a lot of our Black youth are on drugs. Hey, Miss Angie, good to see you, love. Shout out to Miss Angie in the building. Always coming through and holding down the chat. Hey, Miss Angie. You see? So y'all wondering why our Black youth are on drugs. You see a lot of homeless young black men. Why do you think you're seeing this? Because a lot of us have become suicidal. We have become suicidal. And because as a community, black people are not used to dealing with suicide, we don't know how to deal with it. And we need to figure out just how we're going to deal with it, because as it stated in yesterday's article, it is the second leading cause of death when it comes to black youth. Hey, Miss Mona, good to see you, love. Shout out to you. So we got to stop sitting here and taking a back seat when it comes to mental health. Black men, we got to stop taking a back seat to this shit. We can no longer cure it with a blunt and a cup of Hennessy. You can't do it no more. This is why this series is called The Black Man's Pain Storage. Because we store up a lot of shit that we go through in life. It constantly builds up and builds up and builds up. And we find ways to store it in different compartments in our mind. Store it in our hearts. Store it in our liver. Store it in our lungs. And this is why we're suffering from poor health conditions. As they say, as above, so below. As a man thinketh, so he so. So you see why these black youth are calling themselves demons? They on demon time. Why you think the black youth on demon time? As a man thinketh, so he is. And what do they have to look forward to for them not to be on demon time? This is a mental health issue. When you got young kids running around calling themselves demons freely, it is now cool to be called a demon. It's popular now. Now it's a social media term that has become a norm. Shout out to my man Khalif. What's good, bro? Yeah, you know how YouTube do with these notifications, man. You know how YouTube do with these notifications. This is why I ask everybody to hit the like button and to share the show. But shout out to you, Khalif. Yeah, but now it's cool for our children to be on demon time, to grow up and be demons. I remember when I was growing up, the last thing you wanted to be called was a savage. That's the last thing you wanted to be called. A savage? Shout out to the OG Mace. That's the last thing you want to be called. But these are examples of what we've had to learn to cope with. The things that we call each other are coping mechanisms. Because if we live in such a wicked and evil and treacherous world, these youth are looking at it like the only way I'm going to survive is if I become a demon. And we have to understand that this is a mental health issue. Because do you know what demons do? After they go around and destroy all the people and all the environment that they want to destroy, guess what demons do? They self-destruct. If they can't find no one else to destroy, they crash out and destroy themselves. What is this? What are our black youth doing today? What are they doing today? They're living the lives of demons. They're running around destroying themselves, destroying their families, destroying their community, destroying their environment. And then what usually happens after that? They go to the feds for the rest of their life, or they get their brains blown out. Or some guys get shot and be crippled for the rest of their life. So we have to understand this is a mental health issue. When you got the black youth calling themselves demons, you got to understand they're on a suicide mission. Demons are kamikaze. If they can't live, nobody will live. That's how demons are. If I can't live and feast off you, I'm gonna kill everyone. That's a demon. That's a demon. Seven Holiday, what's good? So we got to understand where we at and what we're dealing with. And when we're talking about the black man's pain storage, because as I said yesterday, man, a lot of guys can't deal with it no more, man. We done put up with enough. We done put up with enough. And if energy never dies, correct, it only could be transferred or transmuted, right? What do you think happens with trauma, black men? Don't you know me and my cousins experienced some of the same shit in this world that my uncles experienced? Trauma is passed down, especially amongst black folk. It's handed to you. It's given to you at birth. It is what it is. Black men, we got to step up and change this shit because we know that our children are not built like how we are. Our children are weaker. And it's not to say that they're weak in a negative way. They just not willing to deal with the shit that we had to deal with. They're not built for it. And they shouldn't have to deal with it because we shouldn't have had to deal with it. They shouldn't have to deal with trauma. But they're going to deal with it. And with the way the world is today, if we're not there to direct them, they're going to crash. They're going to crash because they still have to deal with structural racism. They still have to deal with gender bias. So no matter what year you may think it is, in your mind, racism is still alive and active. Racism is still alive and active. And when a lot of our youth who are growing up, who don't think racism still exists and is real, when they experience that shit, a lot of them become suicidal. Because then they begin to say, well, how am I going to exist in this society? This is where agency comes in by black men. This is where we step in at, fellas. Because look at this thumbnail. This is how the average black man is living every day. We barely are making it. Our head is barely above water, man. It's barely above water. Why? Because we're running out of places to store our pain. That's why we're drowning now. We're drowning now. Because we're running out of places to hide. We're running out of places to hide shit. You see? This is why a lot of these guys rather listen to the gender war bullshit. Because it gives them a place to hide. It gives them a place to hide what they're going through. So they rather go and listen to gender war bullshit because that ain't doing nothing but sprinkling sugar on shit. When you have these type of problems in society dealing with black people and you got black men sitting online talking about what women need to be doing, that's sprinkling sugar on shit. And y'all think y'all eating donuts. when y'all eating shit cakes with confection sugar on it. That's what y'all doing. When black men are out here drowning every day. Black men taking themselves out right in the manosphere, killing themselves. Brothers sitting here wasting themselves away right on camera. Right on camera. This is why I showed on yesterday's show, I showed y'all me going to the spa. My cousin invited me out to go to the spa. First time I ever been to a spa was in a float tank. It helps for depression, anxiety, stress. Stops us from drowning, fellas. It stops us from wanting to delete ourselves. Because there's so much shit in the world, man, it's easy for a man to want to take himself out, man. Especially if he haven't found his purpose. This is why suicide is the second leading cause of death of black youth from the ages of 10 to 19. Most black men don't find their purpose until they're at least 25. So from the ages of 10 to 19, come on, man. That's why they're taking themselves out. And they're able to do this because there's no men there to step in. There's no men there to guide. Khalif says facts. We had a better chance of surviving the chaos. The youth today have no chance, especially if they on demon time early. Exactly, bro. Exactly. Exactly. But see, right, it's easy to just give up on life. It is. It is. It is. But see, this is why these black children need agency. They need men and women around to continue to encourage them. Because it's so easy to give up on life now because everything is handed to these kids. Everything is handed to these kids. We had to actually know how to spell. These kids don't have to know how to spell because the goddamn computer automatically spells it for them. Or if they don't know how to spell, or if they don't know how to write, they can press a button and talk, and it'll spell it out for them. Do you know that a lot of children today cannot write properly? They don't know how to spell. They don't know how to write essays. So we got to come back and we have to make sure that our children know how to do it. We cannot leave our kids to the world and expect the world to take care of them because the world didn't take care of us. Society didn't take care of us. So what makes you think it's going? What do you think it's going to do for your 18-year-old son? What do you think it's going to do? What do you think this world really has to offer if he doesn't have no direction? The world going to swallow him up and spit him out. At least when we were younger, it took longer. We had more chances, man. And I know you know what I'm talking about, Khalif. I know you know, bro. Because I could tell you was one of them dudes that was outside. These youth today, they don't have a chance, man. They don't have a chance. And when they realize that nobody's there for them to care about them, there's nobody there that they could depend on, that they can rely on, that they can reach out to when they need help. That's what's making them take themselves out. Because it's like, for what? It's for what? So let's get to this article, man. Shout out to everybody in the building. Like I said, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you share today's show. The Cash App is going across the screen. Yup, the Cash App is back up and cracking. So if y'all want to hit the Cash App and donate, y'all can. Shout out to everybody. I appreciate all the love and the support. Let's get to this article. This is from scientificamerican.com. Suicides among Black people may be vastly undercounted. Ian Rocket has spent much of his career working closely with coroners and medical examiners researching the epidemiology of suicide. Shout out to my brother Papa Flocka in the building. Hey, M. Mills, good to see you. Let's read that again. This is from scientificamerican.com. Suicides among Black people may be vastly undercounted. It says Ian Rocket has spent much of his career working closely with coroners and medical examiners researching the epidemiology of suicide. One of the questions the West Virginia University investigator has pondered over many years in the field is why the rate of suicide among Black people in the U.S. is recorded as a third of that among white people. Should I read that again? Because we still got people in 2022 saying racism don't exist no more. So let's read that again. Ian Rocket has spent much of his career working closely with coroners and medical examiners researching the epidemiology of suicide. One of the questions the West Virginia University investigator has pondered over many years in the field is why the rate of suicide among Black people in the U.S. is recorded as a third of that among white people. In recent years, Rocket's research has started to provide some answers, and it illustrates the extent to which medical examiners and coroners have lacked sufficient data to accurately determine causes of death. Here's where the structural racism comes in. Here's when the bias comes in. Remember on yesterday's show, they talked about how this structural racism and all of this discrimination is actually catering to youth and adults today who don't trust the medical industry. And being that people don't trust the medical industry, you have a lot of people out here who are sick, who are misdiagnosed, or who are not diagnosed at all. And then you got some people who are just thrown off to the wayside. This is what is going on. This is what we need to be speaking about. Because once again, Black men is being what? Disenfranchised. Once again, Black men are being disenfranchised. Shout out to my brother, the Book of Ronan. He says, sow the seeds of agency in order to strengthen our peers and generations of aspiring men and sons to help restore our people and beyond. I appreciate you, bro. Shout out to my brother, the Book of Ronan, man. Salute. Anthony Touchstone, salute, fair. Hey, Zahara. So let's continue. In recent years, Rocket's research has started to provide some answers, and it illustrates the extent to which medical examiners and coroners have lacked sufficient data to accurately determine causes of death. Rocket's 2010 study published by BMC Psychiatry found that Black American deaths are 2.3 times more likely than white deaths to be classified as undetermined at the time they occur. Should I read that again? Should I read that again? Because everybody likes to state statistics and all of that type of shit when it comes to fitting this bullshit gender war narrative. But I don't never hear no correct statistics about what's really going on with black folk. I don't hear those. I don't hear that. We're not talking about black male mental health. We're not talking about that. We're not stating the stats behind that. But here it says right here, Rocket's 2010 study published in BMC Psychiatry found that Black American deaths are 2.3 times more likely than white deaths to be classified as undetermined. So you wonder why it took so long for them to tell you how Kevin Samuels died? Wasn't that a big conspiracy for everyone? Wasn't y'all wondering, damn, why they don't know what happened to Kevin? Where's the autopsy? Where's the toxicology reports? They still don't know. This man been dead for months. And they just told you he died from hypertension. How we know he really died from hypertension? How do we know? How do we know? When in this article right here, it says that these medical examiners and these coroners lack sufficient data. Basically, they're not reporting all of this shit. They're not telling the truth. They're writing black deaths off as being something else. You see? That's what this means. That's what they mean by it lacks sufficient data. Because they're purposely not reporting shit. Because they don't want black people to find out that mental health is an issue that we need to address. They don't want black people to know that. They want all the white folks, all the Asians, and all of them to keep going to these therapists. Because based on their income, they deserve to have psychologists and psychiatrists and all of that shit. But if you're black, we can just give you a pill and tell you go sit down. Oh, you must got a headache. Go sit down. And then you find out you got a tumor in your head. Then you find out that tumor got you going crazy. But why does this happen? Because of structural racism. You see? So our children today think that racism isn't real because you don't see too many, white folks, normally using the N-word. You see? So this is why they think racism don't exist no more. Because their form of racism is, hey, nigger, you can't sit here. They don't understand that racism is in the goddamn hospital. When they tell you, take this pill and we gonna just send you some naproxen to CVS and you just need to get you some more sleep. See, y'all don't understand that that's racism too. Oh, you got Medicaid? Well, let me swipe your card, nigga, get out my face. I'm seeing your prescription, get out my face. That's racism too. It's called structural racism. It's called institutional racism. That's the shit that's built into the American fabric. So whenever you walk in a court building as a black man, you know what time it is. You see? And when our children get a glimpse of this stuff, they can't handle it. They're killing themselves. This is why black youth from the ages of 10 to 19 are taking themselves out. Because they don't have the mental capacity or the capability to say, well, I'm strong enough to deal with this. These kids are looking at it like it's nothing I could do. I'm stuck. I'm assed out. And then you got a bunch of black men who's sitting around talking about some dumb shit all the time instead of worrying about our kids. See, they've got a certain group of black men to check out. And what is that doing for these kids today? It's giving them free reign to blow their brains out. It's giving them free reign to pop pills until they overdose. Their goddamn heart busts out their chest. Let's continue with the article. Because of that observation, Rocket and his colleagues feared that the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention report earlier this year of a 5.5% uptick in black suicides. So after their report came and they realized, Ian and his colleagues, they realized that Black American deaths was 2.3 times more likely than white deaths to be classified as suicides or as what actually happened. Now they finding out that is even more. It's a 5.5% uptick in black suicides. But we talk about drill rap, right? We saying drill rap is killing our youth. That's what we say every day. Oh, it's the drill rap. Oh, it's the music. Yes, the music does cater to it. Because as I say on Sheep Stay Sleep TV, y'all know I always say the music is the soundtrack to the destruction. The music is the soundtrack to the murder. Because you listening to that before you go and do what you're going to do. That's the soundtrack. You know, like the Menace to Society music. That's the soundtrack. So the music play a part. But what is the music actually pushing our youth to do? Commit suicide. That's what it's doing. It's pushing them to become demons. Demons are self-destructive. Suicide. You're going to pop these pills because you got to deal with all the shit you done did. So you're going to pop these pills until you die. You're going to drink this lean till you die. Or you're going to get caught slipping coming out the store and somebody going to murder you. Suicide. Suicide. All because of what? Black men's pain storage. Our pain not being dealt with correctly. Us not being able to deal with each other correctly because of the pain. Let's continue with this article. Because of that observation, Rocket and his colleagues feared that Centers for Disease Control and Prevention report earlier this year of a 5.5% uptick in black suicides was most likely an underestimate. It's an underestimate. So meaning it's more. They're just guessing on how much the shit went up. They really don't know because they never kept the correct numbers. Because they don't want black people to get into mental health. Because guess what? If our minds get right, If our minds get right, guess what that stops? That stops jail. That stops a bunch of black men for going to jail. You see, if we get mental health right, that stops from prison to from school to the prison pipeline. See, all of that is based on mental health. This is why they quick to throw black boys in special ed. So all their life, they running around with that stigma on them. So when it's time for them to go to jail and they sitting in front of a judge, the judge gonna look at their record and say, well, this boy been in special ed since he was 5 years old. He always had behavioral issues. He always had criminal tendencies. You see how this stuff is created? Oh, he always had criminal tendencies. He been in special ed since he was 10. This is why they don't want us to get our minds right, fellas. You see? This is why. This is why they was always against heal before you build. Because with black men healing, you know how many people get cut off from getting paid? First of all these niggas in the manosphere won't make no more money. If black men around here was to start healing and to really start working on themselves and stop listening to this bullshit, most of you niggas won't eat. You SBE, manosphere content creators, you won't eat. You won't eat. You won't eat. Then guess who won't eat after that? The welfare system. They won't eat. The jails, they won't eat. Look how many people are not getting, these are thousands of people who won't get paid, who are getting paid because of black men. Because of black men choosing not to heal. Look how many people have a job and have careers. Because black men never healed. Black men never healed. So look how much people get paid. Look who get paid at the behest of us drowning. This is why you niggas is against heal before you build. I get it. Let's continue. Shout out to Sean Newsom in the building. Good to see you, love. Jameson Young, what's good? Numerous reasons underlie the absence of good statistics. Black Americans have typically been shut out of the mental health care system. Didn't I just say that? Didn't I just say they don't want us getting our minds right? Didn't I just say that? Numerous reasons underlie the absence of good statistics. Black Americans have typically been shut out of the mental health care system, and the pandemic worsened prospects of finding help. The lack of access to medical professionals means black people are less likely to receive a mental health diagnosis. I think I need to read that again. Numerous reasons underlie the absence of good statistics. Black Americans have typically been shut out of the mental health care system, and the pandemic worsened prospects of finding help. The lack of access to medical professionals means black people are less likely to receive a medical health diagnosis. Now, all the brothers in the chat room, I'm not calling you brothers out, but if you choose to answer, you can answer. How many of us, and I'm going to include myself first, I've never had a mental health diagnosis. Never. I know all my friends, they never had a mental health diagnosis. Never had an evaluation for mental health. Me, none of my friends, none of the people that I know that has been through some traumatic shit in their life. Shout out to boot camp. So if you had if you ever had a mental health, if you ever had a mental health evaluation, put a number 1 in the chat. Put a 1 in the chat. If you ever had a mental health evaluation. Khalif said, me either. If you had a mental health evaluation, put a number 1 in the chat. Okay. So a few of you guys have had mental evaluations. Now, were they by black mental health people? Were they black? Do they look like you? Mace says, I go to my therapist three times a month. Man, that's awesome, my brother. That's awesome, man. Next question is, do they look like you, OG? Do they look like you? Bob says no. Mace says yes. Book of Ronan says 1 and been fighting tooth and nail with doctors. See? This is what I'm talking about right here. This is what I'm talking about right here. This is what the article is speaking about also. My brother, the Book of Ronan says 1 and been fighting tooth and nail with doctors concerning my PTSD. Why should anyone have to go through all of this bullshit to receive the proper help? Boot camp said nah. Miss Angie says in most recent years, yes, and a black woman. Perfect. A black woman. But the men in the chat, no. The men in the chat are saying no. Bob says, I have a black counselor, though. That's good. See, we need more of this. We need more of this. My brother, the Book of Ronan says 14 years and counting. So he been fighting tooth and nail to get proper help for his PTSD for 14 years. For 14 years. Perfectly Imperfect says they font diagnosed type but want to push drugs. Yep. Hey, Miss Garnetta. She says 1, and I married a black man with a mental health diagnosis and was diagnosed by a white person. No, they do not care about us. They damn sure don't, Shaw. So let's continue with the article. It says, the lack of access to medical professionals means black people are less likely to receive a medical health diagnosis, and there may be no record of previous suicide attempts prior to their death. Y'all see how deep this shit is? Y'all see this? So this is how they're excused from any blame. They never reported it. So when you kill yourself, well, it just happened. It just happened. No. Y'all know what y'all doing. Y'all use racism. That's why y'all don't report it. Y'all don't report it due to racism, due to discrimination. And they can do this to us black folks because we don't have any agency. They don't play with other groups of people like that because them other groups of people will have advocates coming up there putting pressure on them people. See, we don't have that. We don't have no representation. So this is how we can continue to get done dirty. Jay got diagnosed with clinical depression. Oh, he said, I got diagnosed with clinical depression in 2016. Come on, man. So we got to understand that this shit is real. One brother, one sister are my therapist. That's what's up, Mace. That's what's up, man. And I know it feel good, you know, being able to vent to your people. It feel good for you to be able to open up to your people. And we need more of that. And these articles are saying that they need more Black professionals in the medical field, in the mental health field. So let's continue. In a January 2021 study published in the Journal of Racial and Ethnic Health Disparities, researchers at various institutions found that Black suicides were more apt to be categorized as undetermined because coroners and medical examiners have less information to go on when investigating Black deaths. You see this shit? You see this shit? Zahara says, I'm a nurse. I get it. Wow. Shout out to you, family. Appreciate the super chat, fam. Shout out to Hill Zen in the building. Let's read that again. In a January 2021 study published in the Journal of Racial and Ethnic Health Disparities, researchers at various institutions found that Black suicides were more apt to be categorized as undetermined because coroners and medical examiners have less information to go on when investigating Black deaths. When there's less psychological documentation, they are more likely to be labeled as undetermined intent, says Rocket, a co-author of that paper. This leads to suicide misclassification. Do y'all see this? And this is how they're able to say that suicide was never a problem for Black people. But now, as we can see, it has been a problem. And it's been a problem that they've been hiding. The language that turns up in death reports tends to confirm this conclusion. An April 2022 study published in the journal Suicide and Life-Threatening Behavior documented a greater frequency of mental health information in reports of white suicides, likely resulting from more widespread access to care. Words such as depression and anxiety were more commonly found in white narratives, along with medication information, family problems, or other indicators that might be risk factors for suicide. So what they're saying is all of the proper terminology and all the things that the medical examiners and the coroners and these doctors and these medical professionals need to hear to understand to properly diagnose a person, we're not getting it as Black people. We're not getting it. You see? Y'all give me a second. All right, I'm back. My brother, the Book of Ronan, says in 2018, the VA medical staff were called out in making fun of VA mental health patients via email traffic. Don't you see this shit? Look at this, man. They were called out for making fun of VA mental health patients. Because this is how they feel about black people and mental health. They don't care. But it says right here, and I'm going to read it again. It says right here, the language that turns up in death reports tends to confirm this conclusion. In April 2022, that's this year, a few months back, study published in the journal Suicide and Life-Threatening Behavior documented a greater frequency of mental health information in reports of white suicides. So when it comes to white suicides, all the information that the professionals need to render it a suicide is always there. Words such as depression and anxiety were commonly found in white narratives, along with medication information, family problems, or other indicators that might be risk factors for suicide. Black narratives contained less specific language, words, and phrases such as questionable. This is the shit that they put in our paperwork. The death is questionable. Nothing and no further details were common. This is the shit that they find in our paperwork when it's concerning suicide. The study found that accounts for black people contain fewer words and less lexical diversity. The number of different words used to describe the manner of death. Our research showed that when a medical examiner is writing a narrative for a black person, there's consistently less information recorded for a black case. Be it a suicide, homicide, or an undetermined death. They don't care about us. This is why I say we our own agency. They don't care. They lie on the goddamn paperwork whether you die from a suicide, a homicide, or whatever. They hurry up and write some bullshit on our paperwork so they could throw us so they could just throw us to the side. And DS1 is not saying this. It's in the article. The medical professionals are saying this shit. Not me. Our research showed that when a medical examiner is writing a narrative for a black person, there's consistently less information recorded for a black case, be it suicide, homicide, or an undetermined death, says Nusrat Rahman, an author of the study and now a senior researcher at the American Psychiatric Association. Disparities in death investigations of black people also relate to the absence of suicide notes, she says. A 2018 study that looked at data from the National Violent Death Reporting System found that a fifth of black Americans who die by suicide leave notes, compared with a third of white Americans. See how for so long we thought so light about suicide? But look at what the facts show. Shout out to Brother Rob in the building. He said a lot of people see reality through white folks' eyes. Yes, we do. Shout out to my brother Rob, man. Cuba El Rey, what's good? As always, pertinent and applicable information for further research. Yes, sir. Salute. Salute, my brother. It says the reasons for these differences have yet to be studied. Although the stigma of suicide within the Black community may be a possible contributing factor. You see, I spoke about this earlier. Rahman says that further research is also needed to examine why Black death reports are shorter and whether racial bias is a motivating factor. Y'all give me 1 second. Let me get some water. I'll be right back. Okay, we back. We back. Shout out to everybody in the building. If you are here, hit the like button. Hit the like button and share the show. Hit the like button and share the show. Hit the like button and share the show. Shaw Newsom says that's absolutely correct. I have a cousin struggling with mental illness and they just threw her by the wayside. That's what they do. That's what they do. This is why we cannot teach our children that racism don't exist. It's a lie. Racism is alive and prevalent. And it's destroying America. It's destroying everyone. Not just the people they're being racist to. The reasons for these differences have yet to be studied, although the stigma of suicide within the Black community may be a possible contributing factor. Rahman says that further research is also needed to examine why Black death reports are shorter and whether racial bias is a motivating factor. But the consequences are clear. In these undetermined deaths, there's not enough text to conclude whether a death was intentional. Kevin Samuels, she says, without information about mental health related diagnoses, suicide notes, or interviews with family members, medical examiners are less likely to label the cause of death as a suicide, especially in the case of a death from a drug overdose, which is often difficult to classify as intentional or accidental. The Book of Ronan says, in my mental health report, they often state due to me not dressing or resembling the part, they assume that my symptoms are either minimal or undetermined. Exactly. And you see, that's what they're saying in this article, that this is how they're writing it off. It's undetermined. This is all due to racism. They're not doing this because they don't have enough information. They're doing it because it's a Black person. They just said that whenever it's a white narrative, everything is filled out. They don't use words like undetermined. They don't use words like that when it comes to white folk. They don't use those words. Nora D. Vakow, director of the National Institute on Drug Abuse, says that there is a higher prevalence of suicide in individuals who misuse drugs. Although we don't know the direction of the association, whether drugs cause suicides or those who are suicidal are relying on drugs. Wasn't we just talking about this with our black youth, with the black rappers, the drill rappers? She thinks the explanation is some combination of both. Exactly what I said. It's a combination of both. Dudes and these young girls are using these drugs and ODing, not intentionally, but they're using the drugs to cope. And then some of them are using the drugs and they don't care whether they die or not. So it's a combination of both. Drug users are at a higher risk of dying by suicide because they don't see a way out. Sounds like our youth today. Black Americans were initially less exposed to the opioid epidemic because they were less likely than white people to be prescribed addictive drugs for pain. What is the name of today's show, and what was the name of yesterday's show? The Black Man's Pain Storage. You see? So we wasn't exposed to the opioid epidemic because they wouldn't give us Percocets. They're not giving us Roxys. They're not giving us Perc 30s. They're not giving us Adderall like they get these white boys. This is one of those instances where discriminatory practices toward minority groups protected them early on. You see that? You see that? And what they doing now, they putting up a bunch of drug clinics and meth clinics every goddamn where. Why? To try to hide the opioid epidemic. Because they didn't want us to get the help. So what happened with them? They end up abusing the shit. And now they walking around zonked out. And it's making these people look bad. So they throwing them in these institutions and in these programs. But the landscape changed after the introduction of the narcotic fentanyl. What did I tell y'all about the fentanyl epidemic? Didn't I warn y'all it was coming? I warned y'all a year ago and told y'all a year ago about fentanyl. Rest in peace to Michael K. Williams. What did Michael K. Williams die from? Y'all don't know who Michael K. Williams is? Michael K. Williams is Omar from The Wire. What did he die from? An overdose. An overdose of what? Fentanyl. Because he was sniffing coke that was cut with fentanyl. And then what, like 2 weeks, maybe a month later, another known black actor died getting high with his white counterparts. They were sniffing coke that was laced with fentanyl. He died. He OD'd and died. What did I tell y'all about this fentanyl? Sheep stay sleep. Shout out to everybody in the building. Hey, Natasha, what's going on? She says, I'm a social worker, and this is 100% facts. Shout out to you, Natasha. My brother Booker Rona says, many parents play a part as whatever happens in the house stays there, literally shamed or shunned into silence and self-deletion. Facts. 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 You're forced to shut up because don't nobody want to hear it. Facts. And then you take yourself out. And then when you take yourself out, the first goddamn thing they say is, why he didn't come and talk to me? Because you didn't want to hear nothing he had to say. Remember? You told him to shut up and be a man. Remember that? Then he blew his goddamn brains out and you wanted him to come and talk to you. Stupid. You should have left the door open. But you kept telling him he was whining. You kept telling him he wasn't being a man. Right? And then he blew his brains out. Now you wish he could talk to you, right? Huh. Bronze Dip says, once again, the very thing they withheld black people that would possibly help them turned on their people in the worst way. Facts. That's exactly what happened. They were so busy trying to keep the pain meds and all of that out of our hands because they didn't want us to get no help, that they people end up ODing and getting hooked on all that shit. Now, why do you think the middle of America is so messed up? This is why the middle of America want Trump back. This is why. But that's a whole nother thing. Let's keep going. But the landscape changed after the introduction of the narcotic fentanyl, which is mixed with illicit drugs such as heroin and cocaine and sold illegally. The drug overdose mortality rate increased by 44% in Black Americans in 2020. Didn't I speak about this? This is during COVID. I did a whole show talking about how black men was ODing during COVID. Why? Because a lot of black men were homeless and jobless. A lot of black men was kicked out of their homes because they couldn't work no more. So a lot of them got hooked on drugs and they end up dying. Shout out to my brother Deep in Thought. Salute, my brother. Salute. Because as I tried to warn brothers, all these drugs are cut with fentanyl now. All your fake pills that y'all hear about, these fake pills, those are nothing but that's pressed up fentanyl. That's all it is. There's no more ecstasy. It's all fentanyl. There's no more Molly. It's all fentanyl. Your perks, your Xans, all that shit is cut with fentanyl. The coke, the heroin, all of it. All of it. In general, coroners and medical examiners are likely to label drug deaths as suicides without clear evidence. As a result, Black suicides get misclassed as drug overdoses. I would conservatively estimate that 15% of the drug overdoses labeled undetermined are likely suicides. Vocal says. CDC information from 2019 to 2020, this is COVID. CDC information from 2019 to 2020 shows that if 15% of the 15,907 Black undetermined overdose deaths were misclassified suicides, their estimated suicide rate for Black Americans would be 12.5 per 100,000 people versus the official rate of 7.5 per 100,000 people, as 67% higher rate than previous calculations. So they're saying that if they give us the correct information, because they're admitting that they hadn't, that the goddamn rate will be 67% higher than what they told us. Do y'all see the importance of negative media portrayal? Now do y'all see the purpose of propaganda? And why they want to keep us distracted with a bullshit gender war? It's not surprising that many drug deaths aren't properly investigated. Even before the pandemic, coroners and medical examiners were spread too thin, says Catherine Pineri, president of the National Association of Medical Examiners. The medical examiner / coroner community has been struggling with an increasing caseload for many years, largely due to increasing numbers of drug-related and violent deaths. The C-19 pandemic exacerbated the problem. Some deaths that would have brought in for external examination, when coroners examined the victim's body, including scars, surgical incisions, and medical devices, are now investigated with medical records alone, Pineri notes. But in many cases, these records don't exist for Black Americans. See this shit? You see this? You see this? So now they don't even look for certain things no more. They just look at your medical records, and whatever's in your medical records is what's valid. So if it's not there, oh well. Oh well. Oh well. Right now, clinicians are trained to look for suicides in, let me read this slow so y'all can hear this. Right now, clinicians are trained to look for suicides in white men because statistics shows that they are by far the most likely to die by suicide. Let me read that again. Right now, clinicians are trained to look for suicides in white men because statistics show they are by far the most likely to die by suicide. But a Black man's suicidality might be missed. At a very basic level, this data impacts a doctor risk assessment in emergency rooms across the country, says Paul Nesdak, a psychiatrist who specializes in the epidemiology of suicide at Johns Hopkins University. So we have professionals saying just how much nobody cares about Black men. Nobody gives a fuck what we've been through. Nobody cares what we will continue to go through. This is what the medical professionals are saying. That it's been history that we don't have to care about y'all. And we set it up to where we don't even look negligent because it was never in your paperwork. This is why I say, black men, we our own agency. If the rate of black suicides is higher than officially acknowledged, that indicates that even more resources need to be directed toward prevention. You see that? More resources need to be directed toward prevention. But where's our resources going? To King of Diamonds. Where's our resources going? To Bentley, to Rolls Royce, to Porsche. The resources it's not going to prevention, to help black people, to help black men with suicide. We going to buy basketball teams and shit. Because we never get tired of being niggas. And all a nigga want to do is have a chance for one time in his life to act like a slave master. So when he gets some money, the first thing he want to do is go and buy up a bunch of nigga trinkets, instead of trying to stop and combat the war, because that's what you're supposed to use resources for. That's what you're supposed to use your money for. If the rate of black suicides is higher than officially acknowledged, that indicates that even more resources need to be directed toward prevention. When NASDAQ sounded the alarm in a research study about high suicide rates in Baltimore County. Now, what do we know about Baltimore County? What do we know about Baltimore County? What they do in Baltimore? They smoke dust. They smoke that water, angel dust. That's what they doing out there in Baltimore. Heroin and dust. Heroin and dust. Love boat. That's what they doing out there. Heroin and dust. Lawmakers took action by starting a task force to take on the issue and installing a suicide prevention coordinator for the city of Baltimore. Once we realized that our predominantly black population was at risk of suicide, we took steps to prevent it, he says. NASDAQ hopes that as understanding of the real numbers grows, the real numbers, listen to what he said. He hopes that as the understanding of the real numbers grow, so he's already admitting they've been lying. When the real numbers grow, black people at risk of suicide will feel less isolated. Knowing that they are not alone normalizes these struggles and makes them feel like they are not the only ones going through them, he says. And then it says, if you need help, they got a crisis hotline. If you need help for suicide, or if you're struggling with it, they call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255. That's 1-800-273-TALK. Use the online Lifeline chat or chat with the crisis text line by texting TALK to 741-741. So if any of you brothers right now are struggling in the chat room and you need some advice, you need some help, take down this number. It is the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. 1-800-273-TALK. One of you ladies that are my mods, please put that in the chat room for any brothers. For any brothers or any sisters who need to talk to somebody. But this is the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. 1-800-273-TALK. Or you can text TALK to 741-741. This is a National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. If y'all would like to check out this article, the link to the article will be in the description box. When the show finished loading up, that is the end of the article. I would like to say thank you to everyone who came through to today's show. Much love. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you share the show. Hit the like button and share the show. The Cash App is going across the screen if you enjoyed the show, or you could simply hit the super chat and show your love and your support monetarily. But if you can't do that, most importantly, hit the like button, family. Likes are free. Hit the like button, hit the share button, so we can get this message out, because at the end of the day, it's more important to get this message out. So hit the like button, hit the share button, because everybody needs to hear this. Everybody needs to hear this. If y'all need that number again, I'm going to say the number again. The number is 1-800. If y'all need any help, if y'all need to talk to anyone, suicide been on your mind, fellas, call this National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, 1-800-273-TALK. That's 273-8255. 1-800-273-8255. If you want to text, you can text TALK, the word TALK, to 741-741. Shout out to everybody. I appreciate everyone for tuning in to today's show. Now, I don't know if I should make this a series, the Black Man's Pain Storage. Y'all sound off in the chat if y'all would like me to continue this series. Press the number 1 if y'all would like me to continue this series. Press the number 2 if y'all think I should move on. Y'all sound off in the chat real quick before I end today's show. Shout out to everybody in the building. I appreciate all the love and the support. Shout out to everybody. Should I continue with this series, or should I just end it today? Y'all let me know. Sound off in the chat room. Okay. Okay, ones. Okay. So everybody's saying yes, I should continue with the series. So y'all stay tuned for part 3. Y'all stay tuned for part 3, the Black Man's Pain Storage. Shout out to everyone. Make sure you check out part 2. Make sure y'all check out parts 1 and part 2. To anybody that's watching the playback, make sure you check out part 1. And yes, you know, as always, according to y'all would like for this series to continue. So I will continue with it. I appreciate all the love and the support. Shout out to everybody in the building. The link to the article will be down in the description box. Y'all can easily click the link and access the same exact article that I read on today's show. Shout out to everyone once again. Salute to all the visionaries. Shout out to everyone who has donated. I appreciate it, whether it was via Cash App or via Super Chat. I appreciate it. I appreciate y'all for coming through. DS1 Ross, Sheep Stay Sleep TV. And remember, brothers, we got to heal before we build. We got to heal before we build, because we are our own agency. We are our own agency. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.